every day when I wake up trying to see your face. It could only have been you, no one in your place. Sometimes I feel it deep, so it's hard to say. But not today.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Unmarried Life podcast. This is the final episode 6, where we're going to be discussing future plans. I go by the name of Joshua.
I'm Chi-Chi.
And welcome back. So, we're going to dive right into it. This is episode 6, discussing future plans, and this is question 1. You ready?
Yeah.
What are your plans for the near future, and what kind of household would you like to build?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. What are my plans for the near future? I definitely am thinking of like a career shift. Definitely change of pace. Definitely. So, like, I've been working in my role now for like 4 years and in the same business area for 5 years. And obviously I've grown and been promoted and stuff like that, but my job now is quite heavy in the sense of like when it's intense, it can be very, very intense. We have like periods of downtime, but I'm thinking like when I have to travel and stuff like that, and if I've got a child, is it gonna be manageable in terms of what like clients might require sometimes? Like, is it gonna be manageable for me? And do I want to be doing this with a child? So that's kind of the forefront of my mind. And also financially, I need more money. So that's something I'm thinking about as well. Yeah, also moving house in the near future, going on more holidays, being able to kind of share more with my family, share more with you. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at really, and ministry. Really, that's what I'd say.
Nice. Plans for the near future, getting a new role. God willing, by the end of the year. Continue to do the music ministry work through Eternal Minds. So hopefully putting on a yearly show event that we build out. Family wise, yeah, like children in the near future. So that'll be fun. That'll be interesting.
Don't say like near future, because then people, when it comes out, are gonna be like, "Is there something you have to say?"
There's nothing else to say, so let's clear that up. But in the near future, yeah, God, by the grace of God. What kind of household do you like to build? I like to build a close-knit household, a loving household, a household that puts God first, a prayerful household, and placing in steps to do that. Yeah, and a household that we like. For me personally, in my opinion, for what's got me here, kind of following the Lord and so forth, as a whole, it's led to my growth, prosperity. I believe the Lord led me to my wife, and as a whole, kind of following that ethos and understanding when you walk that way, like God just enlarges your territory. So on one hand, I've got plans, but on the other hand, the core thing, action-wise, I will be doing, and we will be doing, right?
You haven't said what you will be doing.
Is following the Lord.
Amen.
And seeking to rest the kingdom of God and His righteousness and all of the things being added on. So, and that will look, we might have plans, but it talks about the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. So it's like in our plans, but sometimes God might say, listen, I want you to go here. But recognizing that sometimes you don't see the play. You might think, oh, why am I doing this? But beyond that, there's something good. Like beyond that, there's like, it's always for your good. So those are my plans for the near future.
Okay. What lessons do you think modern couples can learn from the marriages of their parents and grandparents?
Deeper. That's what they say, innit? Deeper. Modern couples from learned. I think, so let's start. And what I'm trying to do now actually is actively lean towards positive. I think one, obviously there are some situations, relationships and marriages with parents that didn't work out, didn't make it, so divorce and so forth, but there are others that have and have come like a long way actually. And I think one thing we can look at that is like the resilience. Like they were facing a lot of challenges in the previous time that we don't face. We've got our own challenges that they didn't face, but they were facing a lot of challenges, money pressures, racism, communities feeling isolated, their parents and friends being back home, etc., etc. So I think they faced all these challenges and still were united, still managed to raise kids in a turbulent time, and still managed to remain together. I think that's one thing we can take in terms of growing a sense of resilience, growing a unitedness that can take on anything, any challenge that comes, and embedding that. I think on the other hand, I think especially with kids, I think there can be something with regard to like encouraging the maximizing and actualizing of their potential. So, kind of, for me, I'm not having kids yet, and my view might change, but just trying to embed in them certain principles, hard work, dedication, so that whatever their mind takes into, like dreams or goals and so forth, they can give it their all, because at the other end of giving it their all, maybe it doesn't work out, but they can pivot, and with certain mindsets and approaches, if you apply yourself to something, like you can become really good at it and become quite great at it. So I think those sorts of things, and kind of giving them space if I go into certain details, but like just like chasing sports or certain dreams and goals and visions, like encouraging them. To be fair, my parents have supported mine as well in certain situations. In obviously been not so much, but I think just trying to be that encouragement in that sense. My parents definitely embedded and instilled in me kind of putting God first as a whole, and we're very strong about that, and I've taken that on board, and it's been a really key girding principle for me. So yeah, I'd say those 2 points. What about you?
I think I would say probably this. It might be resilience, but yeah, resilience and commitment. So I think our generation now kind of sees marriage as more disposable than maybe our parents' or grandparents' generation, rightly or wrongly, in that, like, obviously there are marriages that you should run for the hills from, in truth. But yeah, I think that there was a larger leaning to solving issues and getting through issues and still, working together. Like, one thing I would say is, now that I'm married, I look at my mum a lot differently than as a married woman, as opposed to just my mum. So seeing how she does things in certain situations, how she moves, committed she is to my dad, how committed she is to, the family, and that being her base and her being a woman of faith. I think there are real behaviours in her that honestly make life easier for me to a degree, because I have that example. So I think, yeah, for me, what I've realised is that it is even important to stay committed in your marriage, because then, and be a good spouse, because you're leaving unknowingly an example for your children, that they're gonna experience what a marriage is like without being in one, just from observing their parents and saying, okay, like, what do I want? And so realizing how closely I unknowingly watched what my mum did, and how even more closely I'm watching her actively now, as she engages with my dad. I think that has left with me a real impression of how important it is to be a good spouse, and to commit to the longevity of that relationship, because you've got people watching you. So I think, yeah, like, being committed and just being a great example. Obviously not everyone is fortunate enough to either have their parents still around, or have had parents who have been that example for them. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, doke. Question 3. What kind of legacy would you like to leave for your children?
No.
Good question.
Great question. You know, it's interesting. As like I'm moving towards motherhood, I've been thinking about this a lot. And I think before, if you'd asked me that 2 years ago, I would probably have said like, I want to leave the legacy of going hard, making as much money as possible. Like, I would have probably said that. But I think obviously those things are there, and I want them to have, you know, to remember me as a parent who provided everything that they wanted. They had a great environment, you know, they had great experiences. But I think as I become more cognizant, like, of what motherhood could be, I think I want them to really, like, remember that I loved them. I think that's the main thing. Like, apart from the things, inheritance to leave to them, I think I want them to really remember, okay, my mum really loves me, and she cared about me, and she took time for me, and she sacrificed for me. Because I watch a lot of documentaries, and like, you just see a lot of evil that goes on in the world, where kids, like adults, like grown men, will be like 50 years old crying about the fact that like their parents weren't there for them when they were 6 years old. And you see the real profound effect that a bad childhood has on people for the rest of their lives, even though childhood really is like maybe ages 0 to maybe 14 before you really go into becoming a proper teenager and having your own ideas. But that for me is like super important, that I want them to remember, yes, my mum really loved me, she protected me, she looked after me, and so that they can leave that and be that sort of parent for their kids. Because, you know, growing up with trauma, like, you can have all the money in the world, you can have all the things in the world, but there are so many adults that are growing up traumatized, and there's no opportunity to self-correct that, you know. They haven't got that blueprint. So for me, I'd really like to leave a legacy of like love, trust, sacrifice, protection. That's important for me. And standing on the word of God. Like, obviously God is our foundation, so yeah.
I hear it. What kind of legacy I like to leave for our children? I think a similar legacy to, agree with what you're saying, to some legacy what my parents left me is one of very strong faith and kind of walking out on the water, the way I live my life and so forth. I like to leave that behind for them, have them to see that, have them to have that as a guiding principle.
Amen.
A guiding principle in terms of how they live, how they move, how they walk, how they treat other people, how their relationship with God's central. Like leave a legacy where they don't have to start from zero. So
Yeah, for sure.
they give them things, give them opportunities, open doors, a bit of nepotism. Sprinkle a bit of nepotism here and there.
100%.
Get them in certain positions, get them ahead, because it doesn't make sense to have to start from scratch. We talk about a righteous man leaves inheritance for his children's children, so
Yeah.
trying to be the most righteous. But yeah, that, and I think just also in our relationship, because as you said, we model what we've seen, so we have to work on ourselves and grow and become a real unit, and not just talk it but actually walk it, because kids see what you do more so than what you like shouting and telling them about. So I think we need to I'd like to leave that legacy of a man loving his wife, and his wife, and a wife respecting her husband.
Amen.
So that can be, because I think like when people grow up, like they model their parents' relationship, whether it was there or like a lack of it kind of thing. So give them a good model for relationships. What else? I think I want the parent legacy that push them to maximize their potential, maximize purpose, and like be the best that they can be, and grow resilience and so forth. That sort of good stuff. And then also final point, just to like be a friend as well. So I can speak and talk, obviously I'm a parent, but also speak, talk, confide.
Yeah.
be a base point for a conversation. So, yeah. They're also not dating until they're 25.
All right then.
That's the end of my question.
We shall see.
There's no we shall see.
We shall see. How are you going to say that and you got engaged at 27?
I didn't date until 25.
That's a big gap.
It asked me, when did you start dating? I said 25 when I met your mum.
So, that's actually giving Nigerian parents.
100%. When I was your age, I was the best in my class. Okay, so if you knew there's 3 parents who are in the same class and all saying they're the best in the class, 2 people are lying.
Maybe all 3 are lying because
maybe all 3. maybe they would do anything. That's actually a good point. Maybe they're all lying.
So, my mum tells you about her school days, was starting fights, and then
she was starting fights.
Yeah.
I saw this TikTok about these 2 people saying, when a parent talks about how they went to school and they've got like a rucksack on and like a water bottle and they're travailing through the jungle and like, the mountains and they're coming on a beaten path and they're walking. It's like, point of view, your parents telling you how they got to school. It's like, that's just the most challenging, traumatic journey. But again,
it's actually true in some cases.
Yeah, they grew up in a very different environment to us, isn't it? So it's one of those. Okay, brilliant. So, final question of the season.
What advice would you give singles or people in a relationship looking to get married?
Season question. As I do in tennis, this is season point. So I say that again.
That's not what they say. Oh, match point. Okay.
Yeah, match point. Coco Gauff did championship point winning that final point. So I say that question again.
So what advice would you give singles or people in a relationship looking to get married?
So I'm gonna broaden the question a bit. First of all, I'm gonna give advice to singles. Just
why are
in
you
general.
broadening the question?
Because I want to say this. I understand.
So
I see
why don't you just say, I want to say this? Why are you saying, I need to broaden the question?
I'm going to broaden the question and I want to say this. The first point is to singles in general. I see it. I'm going to say one thing. Do not fall in love with potential. I repeat. Do not fall in love with potential.
What are you talking about?
Let me land.
You're definitely in the air. What?
All right. So what I mean by that is, when you go out and you're getting ready and you're looking nice, looking trim with the man and so forth, and you're going to a nice party and a vibe and you're getting a drink and so forth, you have an anticipation of like potentially meeting a nice girl or vice versa, an attractive guy or whatever. Yeah? Yeah?
Okay.
Back in the day, obviously not now, but back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah? Do you agree? Yes or no? No, do you agree?
I guess.
Okay. So, but what happens is, it's like the potential of meeting someone. It's the potential of meeting like a long-term partner that you can kind of breathe and so forth. You know what I'm saying?
See what you did there.
No, so in that sense, it's like, and you can see it as well. It's like people are like they jazz themselves up, look nice, like so forth, and da. And it's all about like potential and drawing potential and so forth. Do not fall in love with potential. You have to fall in love with a real person. Like when you meet someone attractive and da and so forth, that's the person. That's the thing you're looking for. So it's important to like, yes, in those seasons where it's like, yeah, do your thing, look nice, look fresh and so forth. When you meet that person, or not even meet that person, make sure you're angling it towards meeting a person and that being the thing, and you're working with that and endeavouring your energy towards making that work. As opposed to, I'm putting energy into this, but there's like, let me go out of mind them, like, potential, like,
that doesn't come across in your
Yeah, I know, but that's why I said, let me land. You know what I'm saying? That's why you gotta let the man land. So that's all I say. Don't fall in love with potential. Like, angle the energy towards a person, and when you meet that person, put your energy into making that work, to making that grow, to studying and so forth, because that's it. That's the thing. Yeah. Second point for single couples looking to get married, right?
Yes.
I believe that the Lord has designed marriage. Marriage is not something that we have just made up. It's not something that we have just created. I believe it's a blueprint for Jesus Christ and the church that the Lord gave to human beings. See in the Bible, it talks about Jesus and his bridegroom, the church, and so forth. And marriage is a representation of
I
that.
mean, Jesus and his bride.
Oh, sorry, Brent's bride, my bad.
That
Jesus
might
the
be
bridegroom.
misconstrued.
Cut
You might want to run that.
cut the tape. Cut, edit, cut the cameras.
Dead ass.
Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Cut the
Joshua.
cameras. Anyways.
Edit that, Marvin.
No. Keep it in.
No, edit it, Marvin.
But what I'm saying is, it's
it's
a design. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Free it. It's a design that we can get instruction for and guidance for. I can go to God, the maker of it, and he can show us through his Bible, through his word, this is how I've designed it. We spoke about it in a previous episode. But there are like positionings. There are man being protector, provider, and so forth, leader.
Say it
Women
again.
being respect for her husband. Both being submitted to each other. And women saying, you know what, this is the head of the household, and take his leading and so forth.
Say protector and provider again.
Protector and provider. So in that situation, in that sense, understand what you're getting to as much as you can. There's a limit to which you can, because once you get married, the other side, it's a whole different ball game, innit? Don't know what I'm saying? It's a whole different ball game, innit? But
Mercy God.
as much as you can, try to understand what it is, what the roles are, what the positionings we're supposed to take to each other are. That's what I'd say, because when we got married, we did marriage counselling, and we did it kind of sporadically, if we're completely honest.
What, premarital?
Premarital counselling, yeah, it's kind of a bit sporadic.
It wasn't. It was like every month.
Mm,
Unless the months we forgot. We couldn't make
yeah,
it.
it was sporadic. And I think that
We
maybe
did Alpha.
we kind of...
Was it Alpha?
Oh yeah, no, that was good. But that's like 1 or 2 days. But I think we maybe went. I think from my perspective, for myself, I went into a bit of, I won't say ego, but just like, because things, we'd kind of got a pattern from a relationship perspective, but not from a marriage perspective. So it was like, okay, no, we'll be good. I hear all these stories about how the first couple of years are mad, but nah, I think we're good.
So someone wants to throw a frying pan.
Who wants to throw a fire pan?
What?
Did someone want to throw a fire pan?
No, you didn't say what? What was said?
Did someone want to throw a fire pan?
Huh?
Did someone want to throw a frying pan? Who wants to throw a frying pan?
Just say it.
So in that situation, learn like what you're getting into. Learn the roles. Learn the design, because that is the design. That is the design. That there's a role for the masculine, there's a role for the feminine in the situation.
Are you saying
Learn
masculine and feminine? Might you
Because-
say man and woman, or is that not politically correct?
No, it's both, innit? It's both, but I think it's interesting because you see, I think we were talking about on the show, we were watching the other day, like, even in, like, gay couples, there's a masculine and a feminine kind of role playing out. And I think that there is,
Energies.
that just goes to the design. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It goes to the design. So in that sense, in the marriage, get to know the design and understand the role you have to play, and talk to your partner about it, understand it, because that will put you in good stead for marriage. Anything else? I think, yeah, beyond that, I think it's really good. It's good. For me personally anyway, I think if you find the right person, it's good.
You're
And you
enjoying
marry
it?
your best friend. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, man. It's got its own challenges. Oh yeah, one thing I will say is that it's not this complete dream state, and I think that's what happened when I came to marriage. I was like, oh, I'm married now. It's this complete dream state. It's still life, and life has its ups, its downs, has its challenges, its great points, its so forth. It's still life. I think at a base level, there's life, so forth, and when you get married, the base level of life, it goes up. However, it's still life. It's still going to have its challenges. It's still going to have its great points and so forth. So that's what I say. Over to my wife.
You don't want to be on the roof.
Have I been on the roof? Have you let me to be on the roof? All right. No, go on. Real question.
I think that scripture is so
True.
funny. Like, that proverb is so
Solomon said, "Bruv, I've had it." I don't know how I did it with how many wives, bro. That's just
I was living
that's just
on
stress,
the
man.
roof.
That's absolute stress.
Oh, God.
But yeah, go on.
So, what advice would you give singles? I don't know if I ever feel comfortable, because I never feel like I have arrived to be giving relationship advice.
Are you
I'm
talking
not
about
saying
what advice would you give singles? Okay, you answer the question for singles just in general, and then also marriage as well.
So for singles, my answer is different to yours. That's
fine, that's fine.
I would say just live your life. Like, when I was single,
You lived your life.
Yeah, I went to uni.
What does that mean?
I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
I went to uni. Did a year abroad in Germany. Came back to Sheffield. Then I worked for a bit. I moved to Amsterdam to pursue a fashion dream. Did my masters there. I travelled a bunch. Those experiences are important to me because, like, it makes me part of who I am today. I had a life. I did things. I experienced things. I went places and, like, birthed a love for travel and, had followed my creative pursuits, saved some money. Like, all of these allow you to just become a full individual. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's just important to just live your life to its fullest. Like, sometimes I think people think when they're single, it's like, you're a full person, I guess, especially in church. Like, but until the spouse comes or until the partner comes,
preparation for marriage and
it's
waiting
like
to be married.
everything is like, oh, I'm just doing everything to become the perfect partner. I'm just doing everything to be the one that I want the one to choose. It's like, give it a rest, bruv. Like,
It sounds like you're talking to someone.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying this is, especially for women, this is church culture. A lot of the time is like, okay, there's a husband, and my wife material. Will a potential husband choose me? It's like, brother, like, you cannot spend every day of your life thinking about whether you're going to be the person on the Rolodex that's going to be called or WhatsApp today. Just live your life. Like, what? Why are you making that face?
Nothing, it's just an interesting analogy.
But it's because some guys are out here just with, well, who do I feel like I want to take to tennis today? No shade. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just what it is, but it's the dating game, and people are entitled to that. People are entitled to, collect data, as Bishop says, like, date and collect data about somebody you might want to get. People are so entitled to do that, and I think in, like, Christian circles, we have to allow people to date and collect data. Like, going on a date does not mean he had a dream about you and he's picturing the house and the kid. Like, relax. Like, he just wants to, maybe likes the look of you, and it's okay for a guy to say, I'm not really on it, without it being like, oh, he's a waste man. It's okay for a female to say, I'm not really on it, without guys being like, oh, forget her, man. When she gets to 35, she'll be rolling it back. She'll be running back. It's like, no, like, let people have experiences in full view, in public, sitting at a table talking. Let me be very clear before people start trying to misconstrue what I'm saying when I say dating. But people are allowed to do that, and they should do that, because then you get to know, okay, I don't like this person and I do like this person. This fits in. I don't have to, like, people are so different. There's so many different types of personalities for you, or vice versa, that you can find somebody. There is not this, like, monolithic idea. Obviously there are qualities, but there's not this monolithic idea of what it means to find a partner. And I think spending time, having experiences, going places, doing things, building your own friend groups, allows you to just get to a place where you're like, I'm happy with myself. I like myself. And because I like myself, I'm sure I can meet someone who likes me too. Do you know what I mean? And I like them. And that becomes a more like, in my opinion, fulfilling relationship, because then when you meet someone, you're interesting. You talk about things. You talk about your interests, your experiences, this, and they become part of a life that you've built. And you become part of a life that they've built. But just being like, oh, you know, like every day, husband, this one, partner, it's just like, bruv. Or wife. Well, if I speak, at this point, we'll take wife.
Some people need to be wife.
Bruv, some people are just...
Some people...
Gal, not even gal.
Tings.
So, in summary...
So what's your advice to the couples and who's trying to get married?
I would say 2 things. I'd say take your time. No, that sounds crazy.
Why does that sound crazy?
Because some people are like, 8 years later.
If it takes 8 years, it takes 8 years.
Nah, bruv. If
you got to collect data for 8 years,
bruv. If it takes 8 years, you got to dip. Like,
if it takes
I'm
8
so
years,
sorry.
I'm
so sorry to tell you.
There's some people who date for 8 years and then they're happily married with like 3 kids now. So.
I hear their thing, but that's not my story. So, as I was saying, I think, take your time. And I also think, like, it's not a game. Like, I think it's like, we promote this idea of marriage without really like understanding what we're asking people to get into, and sometimes not really. And I don't ever think you can have a full understanding of marriage until you're actually in it, and in it for a while, you know, to understand what's required of you, what is necessary. And you definitely don't have really and this might sound crazy, but definitely not even a basic understanding of your partner until after the wedding, in my opinion. Because you have all the information you need to get you to the altar, to get you to commit. But after that, I think the relationship drastically changes. They're just because the nature of the relationship has drastically changed. For us, because we weren't living together beforehand,
that was a big transition.
That was a big change. I think some people might be living together beforehand, but I just think
God
there's
forbid.
something...
To be fair, when we went to the vicar to get, was it your certificate or to get your sign off, she just assumed that we were living together. And she's like, why are your names, or what did she say? Why are your addresses different?
Yeah.
Like, she asked me like a couple of times, and I was like, because we don't live together. She's like, oh, so sorry. Like, it's just such a surprise. Like, every day people come here, they just live together. So, wow, you guys, all right. So what's your address then? Like, okay. So, we're going.
My mum would have flogged me. But yeah, so I think that it's just the nature of the it's a covenant. Like, it's more than a commitment. It's a covenant that you've made with this person and with God.
And covenant means... Just for people who might not know.
I don't know the actual definition.
Okay, let's carry on.
I don't know what the...
It's like a deeper bond, a deeper version of commitment. It's like
sealed with blood.
Yeah. And oh, you had to slash your hand. You slash your hand and you went like that. It's like some blood.
This is really... Don't lead people astray. Don't lead people astray, please.
I'm joking.
But yeah, it's a deeper commitment, is what I'm trying to say. It's just... And I think that has an effect on both people in the relationship. So you have to be patient with yourself, understand things are going to change. And it's not easy. Like, people used to say, marriage is hard. I never used to understand what they were talking about.
So you understand now, yeah?
No, but really, I do, because...
I'm joking.
Like, it's not... It's difficult.
It's not easy.
I would go further and say it's not easy. It's difficult. It's difficult to self-correct. It's difficult to learn your own, what your own BS is. It's difficult to realize where your own traumas or, you know, triggers lie. You realize in marriage, like, small things become big things, and you're like, rah, where did that come from? And you're just learning, and you're having to deal with yourself and deal with another person all the time in a way that you didn't have to before, because you might feel like, bruv, this is long, but then you remember I stood at the altar.
That goes to my point. Like, you're not in love with potential. You're in love with a real person. So it might get tough. Things like, oh, well, there's potential. No, this is what it is. This is what it is. So it's like when you're pointing the energy towards a person, it gets tough, and it gets tough. But then at the same time,
You have
like,
to say it twice.
it gets tough.
It's hard, child.
It's hard, child.
Oh, my life, I had
355 days, 9 hours, 76 minutes. A kind of day. No, but yeah, like, you put your energy towards the person, and that's what I said about the learning what marriage is, because I think a lot of it, not even a lot of it, part of it is definitely linked to what you're supposed to do in the marriage. And I can take that for myself in terms of I didn't know certain things, I wasn't completely comfortable with certain things, and I can speak for you and say you didn't know certain things. Okay, so did you know certain things?
No.
That's what I'm saying. But like, as a whole, we both had gaps. Do you know what I'm saying?
And I think those gaps are always gonna be there.
You don't know. Like, once you get married, you don't know what marriage actually is. Like, what's on the other side?
The gaps are gonna be there until death do you part. I think. Well,
I don't know about that.
No, but the gaps change because I don't expect, because when we become parents, we're gonna have huge gaps, and if we have one child,
in parenting,
but then what does that mean for our marriage when we become parents? And then you have one child, and then I'm sure child number 2, different personality.
Child number 3.
And child number 2, different personality to the first one.
And child number 3, different to that one.
And different jobs, maybe different businesses. So, you know, as a family of 4 looks different to a family of 3. Do you know what I'm saying? And who you become. Maybe you're doing music full time. Maybe I'm in business full time. What does the household look like? You're always going to have ever evolving gaps. And then when you have, from what I understand from my brothers, when you have children, like, you realise certain things are super important to you that you didn't even realise in marriage were super important to you, because you're like, bruv, I'm not trying to have my kid exposed to this. I'm not trying to do this. And then you have to, once again, self-correct again, gaps. So a very wise couple who I love dearly just said to me, take it as really a lifelong journey, because that is what it is. Like, never ever think that you have arrived. And I think earlier in the marriage I was like, why haven't I figured this out? Why haven't I? But the thing is, it's not something to figure out. It's something to learn and grow and understand. It develops and changes, and you gain certain understandings for where you're going in life. And I think, there is no such thing as, like, people say relationship goals. I don't think that's a thing. I think you have relationship understandings and relationship orientations and positionings, and you learn things along the way that help you achieve your ultimate goal. But the experience of now being a year married has shown me basically I really know nothing at all.
Right.
You know,
that's what the smartest people say. Like, you know what, you learn how much you don't know, and that keeps you humble. So, yeah.
Oh wow,
that's it. Our My Life podcast, season 1, complete, wrapped up. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just, shout out Marvin for this. This is great.
TMI Media.
Yeah,
Subscribe,
follow them, likes, TikTok, share. Instagram. But yeah, I just really like to see relationships succeeding, people flourishing, We've had a lot of great examples like our parents, certain couples in our life who have spent time with us, our siblings spending time with us, caring about our relationship. And I just think it takes a community. So hopefully through this, we can become part of you guys' community. Again, not advice, just sharing thoughts on our journey. But yeah, like, don't be afraid to identify people that you want to talk about these things with, and identify wise people who know what they're talking about. Don't just be listening. This is crazy because we're on the podcast. I was going to say, don't just be listening to every podcast.
Facts.
But don't just be listening to everything. Qualify the information. Qualify who it's coming from as well. Even if you want to discuss it with people in your lives, qualify who this is coming from, and are they trustworthy? What do they know? Is this evidence based? And yeah, to your every relationship success.
Yeah, to carry on that point, definitely want to see more marriages. I think as well, like, getting into it and facing challenges or even relationships, like, that doesn't mean that it's not the right fit per se. Obviously there's a line and so forth, but you have to grow, work together and grow together, and ultimately, as I've said, keep God in mind, consult God when making decisions and choices.
Amen. So
on My Life podcast, as I signed out before on the Dating Black podcast, on the Dating Black season 2, love you, babe.
Love you too, babe. Love that for us.
We out.
Every day when I wake up trying to see your face, it could only have been you, no one in your place. Sometimes I feel it deep, so it's hard to say, but not today.